Hello class. I wanted to work through a problem with you. In this problem, we are calculating predetermined overhead rate. We're going to do it a few times under different circumstances. So I think by the end of the problem, you should have a lot of practice. All right. So take a moment and read the problem so you get the general idea of what's going on. And let's get started. So the very first thing we need to do is calculate a plant-wide rate. And so you'll remember that when we're calculating predetermined overhead rate, we're going to start with an estimate of manufacturing overhead costs divided by a cost driver. So having read the problem, you can see that this section represents our estimate. So to calculate the predetermined overhead rate, we are going to take the total estimated manufacturing overhead, 1,440,000, and we're going to divide that by our cost driver. The problem tells us that manufacturing overhead cost is applied to jobs on the basis of direct labor cost. All right. So we can tell here again in our estimated section that direct labor costs were 900,000, or estimated to be 900,000. All right, so let's do the math. And predetermined overhead rate calculates out to, if you just punch the numbers on the calculator, 1.6, and that means 160%. So for every direct labor dollar spent, manufacturing overhead is going to be applied at a rate of 160%. All right, now here's an example of a job in the factory, the Hastings job. Let's calculate how much manufacturing overhead would have been allocated to this job. Now notice that this job spent some time in the cutting department, some time in the machining department, and also some time in the assembly department. We could calculate a manufacturing overhead rate for each of these, add them together to get the total manufacturing overhead rate for this problem, for this job. But since we're using the same rate, let's not do the calculations 3 times. Let's do it 1 time. Since right here, we know that the total labor spent in cutting, machining, and assembly totaled 21,200. So for the Hastings job, direct labor dollars were 21,200, and I'm going to multiply that by the 160% that I calculated up above. All right, and let's work the math. See what that turns out to be. I'm looking for my calculator. All right, finally. All right, 21,200 times 160%. I hope you got the number before me because my calculator is causing me problems. I got 33,920. Oops. 920. Hopefully you got the same. All right. So again, we calculated a predetermined overhead rate based on our estimate of costs for the year, and then we use that rate to allocate manufacturing overhead to this Hastings job. So what would have been the total cost of this Hastings job? All right, we would have direct materials of 18,500, direct labor 21,200, and manufacturing overhead applied 33,920, and our total manufacturing costs would have been, someone do the math for me. Let's see, 18,500 plus 21,200 plus 33,920. I got total cost for the job 73,620. All right.